Wow, week one has come and gone, and damn, there was a lot of bad football being played this weekend. A lot of crazy games, a lot of unexpected outcomes, but it was fun. I'm very happy football is back. I think this is going to be a good year, although very disappointed. Just want to get right off the bat that Aaron Rodgers is out for the year. Was really hoping to see him play in New York this year, and now it's questionable if he'll ever play again because he is up there in years, and it's harder for older players to come back from injuries like that. But yeah, great week, obviously, in the podcast this week. Thanks for tuning back into us. We will reassess our picks from last week, see what we got right, see what we got wrong, then look ahead to next week, make our picks, make our parlays, make our bets, some fantasy starts and sits, and yeah, should be a fun second week of ball. How you doing today, Jake?
I'm doing well, yeah. I think that my picks need to be improved a little bit.
I mean, you had a much better week than me, so I think I need some improvement.
Yeah, I'm trying to get 12 wins, though, this week.
12 wins?
12,
that would be impressive.
Yeah, 12 out of the 16.
That would warrant us to get a few more subscribers.
Absolutely.
I mean, come on now.
Yeah, we deserve it.
Big time. So, yeah, let's just hop right on in. I think, yeah, like I said, the disparity between, like, the good and the bad teams has been narrowed. Like, I feel that the really good is only, like, semi-good. And, like, obviously, there were teams that just dominated. There was 49ers in Dallas and whatnot, and even Green Bay. But outside of that, everyone was just kind of like meh, like a lot of average teams going on. And so let's just start with the Thursday night football game of Detroit at Kansas City. I, of course, got this one wrong, but I did kind of hope and think that Travis Kelce was going to play at that time. And I really do believe if he played, they would have won that game pretty easily, because they still almost won with the dog shit receivers they had. And Kadarius Toney was, honestly, I had no idea that they actually traded him to the Lions, because he was, wasn't he playing for the Lions? I mean, he dropped all those passes. He dropped probably like 70 yards, and he bobbled a pick six, or he bobbled a ball into a pick six. So overall, I'm happy that Detroit won. Like, I remember saying, like, I'd love to see them have some success, but they narrowly escaped. They need to play better too. I think Jared Goff was fine, but a little bit raw. And yeah, I think they should do pretty well. And obviously, we'll talk about that. But going forward, I think they'll be a pretty solid top 10 team.
Yeah. Like you mentioned, the Detroit Lions pulled through for me for a victory. That also cashed the best bet of the week last week. So if you guys bet that DraftKings up 7 promo, it would have cashed for you right away in the first quarter, I believe. And then,
sure would have.
Yes, sir. And then even, if you didn't get the up 7 promo, they still won outright anyways. So that was a nice bet and a nice win for me with the first game of the NFL season.
Yeah, that was a really good pick. I commend you on that. I actually did the up 7 for Kansas City, which actually, no, I don't think I ended up placing it. They did go up 7, though, at some point, and I really did think they were going to win. But, man, I had big hopes for Kadarius Toney, because I think he even had a touchdown in the Super Bowl, but he squandered it big time, and would not be surprised if they cut his ass. Next up, we have a very surprising outcome of game. Really thought Pittsburgh would have put up more of a fight against San Fran last week, but they just rolled over. Kenny Pickett did not look great. I didn't watch this game in full. Saw some of the highlights and the lowlights, especially for Kenny Pickett, who, Deontay Johnson fell down and caused that first interception there. The chemistry is not really there between them yet, and it needs to be. He threw the ball a ton of times. He was fairly accurate, but was not throwing much downfield.
Their team in general just did not live up to the hype in that game.
Yeah. The funny thing, I think TJ Watt still had 3 sacks. Like, that was their defense. But so, like, your best player is TJ Watt. Everything else looked just flat. And Kenny Pickett needs to play better. He looked good in the preseason, but just did not come to play. And he's getting outplayed by the 7th round pick. Kenny Pickett was like a 2nd round pick in the same draft and have similar starting times. Like, I think both of them started around like 8 to 10 games last year. And Brock Purdy is just, he's literally playing great ball. He was one of the best quarterbacks this week. He did fumble the ball, but no interceptions, was efficient. 2 nice touchdown passes early on that put him up. And yeah, he's pretty athletic. He can actually move around a little bit more than you might think.
Yeah, and both of us bet on San Fran for the week, so
Yeah.
that hit for both of us. So it was a good pick there. Despite, we did think that Pittsburgh would
man.
play well, but we did pick the right outcome here.
Like, I was afraid. I really thought that Pittsburgh actually had a chance, especially as the week went on. Especially, like, a lot of my friends were like, yeah, I'm taking Pittsburgh, especially when they're playing at home. But nope. So that was a little surprising, but I am happy. I do like San Francisco. I like Brock Purdy a lot, so I was happy about that. And then here's another one that a lot of people were surprised about. Tampa Bay at Minnesota. Now, it's funny. I started to feel some premonitions, some harbingers about Tampa in this game. I actually bet the spread for them in one of my parlays, and that parlay came through. The 5.5 points that they were given, I thought was way too many. And, yeah, they didn't need that. They were giving points to Minnesota. They ended up beating them by 4. And the gist of it here is that Minnesota's defense is just awful. And if Tampa Bay with a bad offensive line can put up 20 points, and I thought like Baker could play well, they still have their 2 great receivers, Chris Godwin and Mike Evans. And I think the major problem here is just like Kirk Cousins fumbled it twice early on and kind of put them in a hole. So I'm sure they'll clean that up. I don't think Minnesota will win this week, though, so it'll be a tough start for them. They needed to win this game. But, yeah, just a kind of a weird low-scoring game. I really thought it would have been actually a higher-scoring game since both defenses aren't amazing.
Yeah, and both of us got this one wrong. We were pretty surprised that Minnesota...
Yeah, I mean, there was no way I was going to take Tampa with Baker Mayfield starting there for the first time. But, yeah. All right, then we have Houston at Baltimore, a game that really don't give a rat's ass about. I did pick Houston to cover the spread, and they did not even really come close to covering their 10-point margin there. I think the main issue here was that Baltimore's defense played well. C.J. Stroud struggled, was pressured a lot, and I think he was pressured just about the same amount as Daniel Jones, like the second most out of any quarterback this week. Lamar Jackson did not play great. Honestly, he really did not play that well at all, but that's just kind of what you're expecting. I'm not a big believer in Lamar Jackson at this point in his career. I think he's kind of already peaked after the MVP season. I think he'll still win a lot of games this year, but yeah, with J.K. Dobbins out as well. Now, did he injure himself on that dive into the end zone? Was that the play?
I think so, yeah. I think it was, yeah.
Bro, you don't need to be diving. Like, he absolutely dolphin dived into the end zone, and it's like, bro, come on now.
He was feeling like a beluga whale.
He must have been.
Yeah.
But now he's feeling like a beached whale.
I guess so.
Because that's what he's going to be doing, is just chilling on the bench.
But the Ravens might have a new dolphin on their team.
Yeah?
With Jonathan Taylor in trade talks with them, apparently.
Yeah, I find it hard to believe that they would trade him such to a close opponent that they'd have to face. I feel like if they toss him over to the NFC,
that's true.
Toss him over to Tampa or the Bears, where they don't have to see him like maybe once every 4 years. But I don't know. That definitely would make sense now. Although I do think Justice Hill and Gus Edwards are fine. I think they will suffice.
I'm sure they will. So for the next game, though, this was a big loss for us both. Very frustrating, the Tennessee at New Orleans game here, that we both picked Tennessee, did not hit, and they just looked terrible out there. They did not have a single touchdown, 5 field goals on the day for Tennessee.
Yeah, first off, about the field goals, like I really like Nick Folk as a kicker. Like on New England, he was putting up like quarterback numbers sometimes as a kicker, and I almost wanted to pick him up, and I should have, because that's a lot of field goal yardage there. But yeah, like I said earlier, Tannehill is playing for his job, and he's trying to throw his job away.
Yeah, he does not look like he's going to have it after this week.
Yeah, I'm surprised they honestly didn't bench him during this game. Although the picks weren't like awful. I watched them, and like they weren't great. Like it's not like the receivers made any faults and bobbled any balls really. But they weren't great. He was trying to force it a little bit. And Derek Carr played really well, I'd say, in his debut. He's through a lot of yards. And, yeah, just a really low-scoring game. It's kind of an ugly game all around. And, yeah, Tennessee's got to play better. Tannehill's got to clean it up a little bit.
Indeed. Yes, sir. Moving on to the next game, we have Jacksonville at the Colts. We both got this one right, picking Jacksonville. The Colts kept it competitive, though, which I was pretty surprised about.
I think they were winning at some points in the game as well, like 21-17 or something like that. Mm-hmm. So I was feeling a little worried about it, actually. I was really surprised. Trevor Lawrence played all right. He turned the ball over, but yeah, Anthony Richardson was definitely the most impressive of the rookie quarterbacks, between Stroud and Young.
He looked solid out there.
Yeah, he did look pretty solid, made some good plays, and Michael Pittman went off. They got some good chemistry going already, which is that's the problem with Kenny Pickett, is that he's just not vibing with his receivers, especially Dante Johnson, whereas game one, Anthony Richardson's already vibing with Michael Pittman there.
It was a 39-yard touchdown to Pittman, and then Richardson had a little rushing touchdown himself, I believe.
Yeah, so he's kind of turning already into like a good fantasy option, like a lot of people predicted, even though they're going to lose a lot of games and he's going to make a lot of mistakes. So, yeah, that was a fun game to watch for sure, at least.
Yeah, it was a little back and forth action. Yeah. That one was pretty decent. Moving on to Cincinnati at Cleveland, this was just a shocking opener for the previous Super Bowl caliber team.
I mean, kind of the same deal with all the playoff teams last year, except for the NFC playoff teams played well, but the AFC playoff teams kind of played like dog shit.
Yeah. Burrow had probably the worst game of his career. I believe he had 82 yards.
Yep, he did. It was like 14 for 31 or something like that. It was definitely the worst game of his career. Yeah. Although he somehow managed not to turn the ball over despite throwing, what would that be, like 17, what was that? Yeah, 17 incompletions.
Incomplete passes,
yeah. No, super ugly game. The weather wasn't great, so I'll give him that, but really disappointed to see this, although I think it majorly has to do with the fact he missed so much time in practice leading up to the start of the season because of his injury. Yeah, I mean, so he was out. So I really don't take too much credence in this. I think the Bengals will be just fine, but the fact that T. Higgins had 8 targets, didn't catch a single one of them, is a little bit alarming. And yeah, just an ugly game. I don't even think, Deshaun Watson, he played okay. I mean, he got the job done, but even him did not play great. He looked just like he did last year. And that
wasn't anything special.
No, definitely not like 2020 Watson or before that. Like, not very accurate. He's always good for a pick, but moved around just enough to win the game. Yeah.
So this week I was able to correctly predict the upset there for Cleveland.
Yeah, that was a good decision. I really should have had that foresight with Joe Burrow not having much practice time.
Yeah, no, that was a fair assessment, though. I think Cincinnati just in general is the better team.
But yeah, I think ultimately they will. They always kind of tend to start slow.
Yeah. The next game, Arizona at Washington. This was like a bozo kind of garbage game. Didn't really care about. I honestly did not even watch this game, but I saw that Washington won. I think it was 17-16, right?
20-16.
20-16. Yeah. Okay, yeah, just a game I didn't really care about, but I think that for the most part it was kind of back and forth a little.
Yeah, it was really scary for me because I'm in a survivor pool and I picked Washington as my lock of the week.
Wow.
And you can't reuse teams, so I figured I don't foresee Washington winning much this year, and I'm going to pick almost every single opponent of the Cardinals this year. Like, that's my strategy. Like, just pick whoever the Cardinals is playing, right? And they, they're really scary, but they were able to pull down, and Sam Howell played okay. He made a really great touchdown pass early on the run to Brian Robinson. But yeah, somehow the Cardinals' defense just was elite, and their offense was, though, exactly what we expected it to be. It's just like really flat, devoid of talent, except for Marquise Brown there. I mean, James Conner is fine as well, but starting Josh Dobbs at quarterback, come on now.
Yeah, and we both got this one right this week, so that was good for us.
Yeah, thank God.
Yep, and then the next game, Carolina at Atlanta. We also both got this one right, correctly predicting Atlanta to win, but this is the game we said was two teams, two raccoons clambering around in the dumpster.
Pretty much.
Yeah, although we got to see Bijan with his NFL debut. He played very well. Yeah,
he did look good, but
Tyler Algier.
Yeah, I mean, I think Tyler's still like the alligator. He's still kind of like the guy there. I mean, Bijan had the receiving touchdown, but Alligator had the two.
Algier, the alligator. I like that.
Yeah, I mean, he was just scuttling along like a little alligator on the
Yeah.
ground. I mean, scoring 2 rushing touchdowns, ran for like 75 yards.
And
so.
I think he had 15 rushing attempts, and Bijan only had 10, I think.
Yeah, something like that for sure. So it's interesting to see the usage there, but I'm actually happy about that because Alligator was really solid last year, and that was actually surprising to me that they drafted Bijan because they already had like a solid option at running back. They
Right.
still have Cordero Patterson, who was also solid, and yet they drafted Bijan. So it's kind of like they have a little bit of a abundance of talent at that position, but. Yep, just kind of an ugly game. I mean, Desmond Ridder was 15 of 18. Didn't throw for a whole lot of yards. He's playing really safe, not pushing the ball down the field at all. Drake London didn't have a catch or anything like that. And Kyle Pitts barely did anything either. So it's just a weird football team. It's like, I mean, they're playing like 1930s ball right now, just running it. And I mean, he was very accurate, but it's easy to be accurate when you're just dumping it off a lot and, putting everything within 10 yards. And then Bryce Young played as you'd expect, for a first year. But I've seen better performances out of, first year's games or their first game of their first year. And so, that's why I was a little bit disappointing. Like CJ Stroud and Bryce Young were just kind of flat all around.
Yeah, that's fair. Moving on to a very disappointing game, Green Bay at Chicago. We both incorrectly predicted Chicago to win this one.
Yeah, we were picking with our hearts there, I guess.
Yeah, just from being from Chicago, we got so much hype about this revamped Bears offense during the offseason, and Green Bay just still owns the Bears, whether or not Aaron Rodgers is playing the team.
It's revamped, but just for display, I guess, because DJ Moore was only targeted and received 2 receptions for 25 yards. It looked like same old Bears of last year. You got Darnell Mooney, Khalil Herbert doing all right. Justin Fields running around, coughed up a ball, threw a pick. He actually didn't play like horrible. Still had, over like 200 yards and whatnot, which I was surprised to see from him. But yeah, I mean, the Bears got to figure it out. They're just offensively diluted. They have no creativity. They need to get DJ Moore involved. Chase Claypool looked bad. I mean, he went to Notre Dame. We're fans of Chase Claypool, but the guy doesn't look like he enjoys football anymore. He's dropping balls. This guy used to be amazing. This guy was like a Rookie of the Year candidate back in Pittsburgh. I mean, the dude had 3 touchdowns at one point from Big Ben, and he just doesn't look anything like that anymore, and it's inexplicable to me. And, I mean, I thought back in the day could have been like a wide receiver 1.
Right.
But, I mean, he's
anymore.
struggling to be a wide receiver 3 at this point, and it's just really disappointing. I think what the difference here is that Matt Eberflus is a defensive-minded coach, and Green Bay has Matt LaFleur is an offensive-minded coach. And so it's really helpful for Jordan Love to have somebody who's kind of, pushing him forward like that, whereas Matt Eberflus is more defensively leaned, and therefore Justin Fields suffers at the hands of that. But, I mean, I can't believe how well Jordan Love played. It was
absurd. Almost a flawless game. I mean, I don't think he really had any mistakes.
He wasn't super accurate. His accuracy was barely above 50%, but he did have 3 touchdowns. He threw for a bunch of yards.
Though, right?
Yeah, I know. I mean, he played one of the cleanest games out of all the quarterbacks of the entire week. I mean, which is absurd to say, but yeah, Green Bay looked like one of the most dominant teams week 1, and I hate to say it, but I would not be surprised if they ended up winning the division because their schedule is not that difficult. They face Atlanta next week. I think that's a dub.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you there. I also want to comment about the opening drive for the Bears going for it on 4th down there. If they didn't go for that on 4th and turn the ball over, I think they have way more momentum here.
Yeah, it just completely changed the matrix of the game completely.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's a poor coaching decision. It certainly wasn't the only poor coaching decision.
Right.
I think Sean Payton made one. We'll get to that in a little bit here, but yeah.
All right, next game, and I think this was personally the most exciting one of the week.
Yeah, and we predicted it. We literally said this might be the game of the week here.
You called it. You said that this is going to be the high-scoring game, and it definitely was.
And they should have made it Sunday Night Football instead of the shitbird that they put on TV.
Yes, sir. But we got Miami against the Chargers, and unfortunately, we both got this one wrong, picking the Chargers. But that being said, this game could have gone either way because the entire time it was just back and forth. Miami scores, the Chargers score.
Yeah, there were 7 lead changes,
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah, 7 lead changes. I mean, it was just an electrifying game to watch, and Tyreek played out of his mind.
Oh, my God, it's crazy.
Yeah, he had 211 yards, 2 touchdowns. He was the #1 fantasy scorer for the week.
Probably by a long shot,
Yeah.
or especially for wide receivers.
Only a long shot above everyone else except for Dallas defense.
Yeah, Dallas defense went nuts for
Yeah.
me, especially in leagues that have a little bit of a more squirrely scoring system like mine, where they
Yeah.
award 4th down stops and 3rd down or 3 and outs and whatnot. But
Right, but it's still a good game to watch,
Yeah,
and I
for sure.
like to see Tua, out there playing so well after the injuries he battled with last year.
yeah, that was really encouraging. This is the most compelling storyline of week 1 for me because, I mean, Tua did play great. He had 1 interception, but he threw for over 10 yards a clip, which is the most out of any quarterback, I believe, in week 1, and by quite a bit. I mean, a lot of quarterbacks these days are struggling to get over like 8 yards a clip, but I mean, he threw for 10.4, 466 yards, and yeah, I mean, Mike McDaniels, for him, has made him the best version of himself, and it's kind of crazy to think that after these last 2 years where everyone has bashed on Miami for skipping on Justin Herbert and taking Tua, to now kind of almost be leaning that Tua might have been the better option.
Yeah.
But I do still think Justin Herbert's the better quarterback, but I think that Brandon Staley is just a horrible coach who probably should be gone at the end of this year, if not sometime during the season. He is a defensive-minded coach. He was the defensive coordinator for the Rams several years ago, and yet LA's defense is bad. So if you're a defensive guy and you can't even get your side of the ball right, then it's just, oh my God, it's laughable how poor their defense is, how poor their offensive is. They scored a lot of points, but you look at Justin Herbert's stats, he didn't play a great game. I mean, he's one of those guys that has so much more potential, and yet his yards per attempt is like 6. He's not pushing the ball as much down the field as he was a couple years ago. I mean, his rookie year, it seems like ever since then, he's just kind of gone downhill. I mean, he's been a good quarterback, but he hasn't put up the numbers that he did in his rookie year. He did have a rushing touchdown, didn't turn the ball over, but just kind of one of those games where he didn't make the plays where he needed to, especially when he had the ball. I mean, they missed the extra point. Miami missed the extra point. LA gets the ball back. All they need is a field goal to win. Justin Herbert gets that intentional grounding call, gets sacked. They go 3 and out. Game over like that. They just seemed unprepared, and I think ultimately it comes down to the coaching there.
Yeah, cannot argue with you there. Moving on, we have Philadelphia at New England. We both correctly predicted Philly for this one. New England kept it a little bit closer than I was expecting.
Yeah, they sure did.
Philly took an early lead on them, and then they didn't do much after that, and New England was just kind of crawling back a little bit. But ultimately, it was not enough. Despite Tom Brady being in attendance at the game, Philly still pulled off the victory here.
Yeah, Philly's fortunate that they built that early lead because Bill Belichick, little snake, like I said, I mean, he's got his tricks up his sleeve. Mac Jones played all right. What was it? Yeah, Kendrick Bourne with 2 touchdowns. I swear, the guy's come out of the woodworks. He's actually playing good football now. And yeah, no, it was an interesting game, I would say, but pretty much came down to what we expected. I think losing Philadelphia's offensive coordinator now is the head coach of the Colts. I think that's going to hurt them a little bit because he was a major component in what made that offense so electric last year and just looked a little bit less versatile in this game.
Yeah.
But the weather wasn't great, I don't think.
No, it was terrible weather there. It was an absolute monsoon.
Was it an absolute monsoon?
It was, yeah.
Yeah, that one in the Cleveland game, so you got to take that into account as well.
All right, the next one we've got was the Rams against Seattle.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I got this one wrong. I picked Seattle, Rhett correctly. Had LA winning this game, and I really pride you on that. That was a nice pick.
It was a ballsy pick.
It was.
Dude.
It was
I almost didn't
one.
believe myself. I cannot believe I even picked them. I knew I picked them with the spread, the 5.5 points, but to pick them straight up,
Yeah, you were just feeling super frisky, like you said. Toss them into the parlay if you're feeling frisky. And Rhett was feeling very, very frisky last week.
You know, Geno didn't play horrible, but he couldn't get it done. He didn't play great.
No.
And Matt Stafford carved up that defense. He also threw for like 10 yards thereabout.
And without Kupp, too.
Yeah, I mean, Tutu Atwell and Puka Nakua threw for the exact same amount of yards, 119 apiece. And Kyron Williams, who's also a Notre Dame guy, had 2 touchdowns. And so, yeah, Matt Stafford didn't have a passing touchdown, but over 300 yards, very efficient. And the fact that they blew out Seattle in Seattle is definitely, that should be alarming. That should be panic button time for Seahawks fans for sure.
Definitely. And Kyron Williams looked very nice out there, like really getting more action than Cam Akers.
Yeah, I think that might have been a fluke. I'm not convinced that he's going to be that guy going forward. I still think Cam Akers is going to be the starter and the one they, put most of the workload onto. But it was very nice to see that from a Notre Dame guy.
Yeah, definitely. All right, next we have Las Vegas against Denver, and I got Vegas winning this one.
That was a good pick for sure.
Yeah, Rhett had Denver winning this one. It was a low-scoring game. I don't really think there was too much excitement.
Man. Like, I picked Denver, but no one told me that the Hall of Fame coach would go for an onside kick on the very first drive of the game. Stupid. I mean, why? Makes zero sense at all. Really is just a brain-dead decision, in my opinion. And they still almost were able to pull it out because Raiders scored. Yeah, I mean, they lost because they missed an extra point. Yeah. Fucking Will Lutz missed an extra point. So there you have it. Jimmy G played pretty solid. Only 5 incompletions, 20 for 25. He did have a pick, but the 2 touchdowns to Jacoby Myers were impressive. I mean, he looked, actually, never seen him so emotional. Like, he looked pretty, like rah-rah out there. I mean, he was kind of going nuts. So it was good to see that. I don't think Vegas will have a whole lot of success down the road. I do think they're pretty limited. Their offensive line wasn't amazing. But, yeah, just almost kind of like a carbon copy of one of last year's games, especially for Denver. They did not look much improved, but hopefully with Jerry Jeudy coming back, that'll change.
Yes, definitely. All right, now on to the biggest blowout of the week. Dallas against the Giants, a terrible primetime game.
Yeah, right. Great job, NFL. Great job. Sunday Night Football. Fell asleep. Most people, use this to just kind of like their NyQuil, just, a nice lullaby to sleep.
Yep, exactly. Dallas defense just played impeccally. They had, it 2 pick sixes or just 1?
I think only 1 pick six, but they had another interception, some forced fumbles, all sorts of good stuff.
Yeah, so I picked Dallas to win this one. You did pick the Giants, though. Was it just because of their hype in the preseason? I just thought they would be better than they were last year, and they're playing in New York. I figured that they're going to – I mean, they have struggled against Dallas immensely. Yeah. I thought, okay, playing in New York, they're an improved team. They should be able to take this game. I did not think Dallas would be as good as they were last year. I thought they were a team that took a step backwards. But, yeah, I mean, Daniel Jones just looked out of his league here. All of them, everyone actually on the Giants just kind of looked out of their league. Daniel Jones – a little bit of a disappointment here, especially after getting paid like $40 million a year. Really, really upsetting, honestly. I definitely went for the more risky pick here, but I still thought that would be a close game. I mean, it just was anything but that. Yeah, so. That's fair. I mean, division rivals and the home opener for the Giants, it certainly could have been closer, but I don't know. They just looked horrible out there. Yeah, it was a brutal game to watch. I turned it off very quickly. I'm not watching that shit for sure. Absolutely not. All right, and now on to the final game of the week. We have Buffalo against the Jets, and this was just a shocking game. Really just kind of became an instant classic. Aaron opens up the game, tears his Achilles. Of course, we feel terrible for him. He might not play again, like you mentioned. Kind of puts a souring mood on the entire season. Because, it does. It's like as if, what if that happened to Tom Brady in his first start with Tampa? Yeah. I mean, everyone's excited to see, a Hall of Fame quarterback in a new setting, and then we're kind of deprived from that. Yeah, and so they had to play Zach Wilson. It's like, it's identical to last year then. That's exactly what I was thinking. I mean,
it literally looked, a lot of things actually this year ended up being just kind of like last year. A lot of games where I was like expecting some new pop turned into just kind of the same old shit.
Yeah. And you should have seen the Jets fans in the stadium after Aaron got carted off. I mean, they just looked so distraught.
It's funny. I feel like Buffalo, the team, were more distraught because they just melted after that. Like, they're almost like, aw, well, it's just Zach Wilson the clown. We don't need to care about him.
Yeah.
We'll just roll to a nice victory. And
that was not the case at all.
I almost feel like if Aaron kept playing, they would have won. Like, it sounds crazy, but I feel like by bringing in Zach Wilson, who has no respect on his name at all, everyone on the Bills just kind of played down to them.
Yeah, I
and
thought it was going to be a
losing.
joke of a game.
Yeah, I mean, they're like, oh, man, we don't get to play against Rodgers. Yeah, screw this.
How about Josh Allen having one of the worst games of his career, turning the ball over 4 times?
He had some pretty bad games his rookie season, but yeah, he has regressed. A couple years ago when he threw 36 touchdowns or whatever it was. No, I think it was even more than that. He was up in like the 40s. But yeah, I mean, he is, this is rough. He looked bad, and some of his interceptions, like the first one, just like a huge Hail Mary in the double coverage, just not a good idea. Forcing the ball. Gabe Davis didn't seem too prevalent, even though, I mean, he should be a competent receiver. Stephon Diggs looked fine. I liked his pep talk to Josh Allen, and I think they will be okay going down the road a little bit more. But yeah, I truly believe the loss of Brian Daboll to the New York Giants last year has stunted Josh Allen's development, and he is falling into old habits. Like, I literally saw one of his runs. I mean, the bro is just playing like a running back. He's just lowering his shoulder and trying to get an extra half a yard when he should just get out of bounds or slide. I mean, he's putting his body on the line, and he's been lucky. I don't think he's really ever missed a game in his career, but he's bound to if he keeps playing like this, or he's bound to get benched because if you're going to turn the ball over 4 times, I mean, he was showing signs of this last year. I think in the game against the Dolphins in the playoffs, he turned the ball over several times, and they luckily still won that. But yeah, he really has to clean it up. And yeah, I saw this little clip on YouTube today where he predicted his Madden rating before the season started. I think he put himself at like a 95. I was like, yeah, well, if you keep turning the ball over like this, you're gonna be on like Mac Jones level. You're gonna be like an 84.
Definitely. Yeah, tough loss there for Buffalo. We both got that one wrong. So just to give a final recap of our records for the week, I was 10-6.
That was a really good week. Good job.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And then how'd you do this week?
Yeah, kind of not. I mean, 7-9 wasn't horrible.
Fine.
Like for week 1, like I'll take it, but like I feel like I made too many like swings. Like I should not have picked the Giants, and I probably should not have picked Tennessee. I feel like those were 2 where like you just take the favorite team. The team playing at home, or well, the Giants were playing at home, but you take the favorite team, you take the smarter pick there, the safer one. But yeah, no, it was a good week of football, although I must say it just wasn't, I don't think it was as exciting as previous week 1s. Like I remember it felt so awesome a couple years ago. You had like Tom Brady starting for the Bucs. You had Joe Burrow, first game for the Bengals. I think that was even, Tua was playing. Justin Herbert, there was a lot more excitement in some of those early weeks in previous years than there was this time. So yeah, I don't know. I hope the next couple weeks are better. Still disappointed about Aaron Rodgers, of course. But yeah, let's get into this upcoming week's. Well, I guess we're going to touch on our start and sit predictions for fantasy and how those played out. Because remember, we said we're going to hold ourselves accountable. We're not just going to gloss over this like other people do.
Yeah, so my start from last week was Michael Thomas. He had 8.6 points in a half PPR league. I'm going to say that this one was not really the best choice. Like 8.6 is like okay, but I think
that's serviceable.
Yeah, it's fine, but like definitely was not start caliber. Michael Thomas did have a really deep ball that he did not catch in that game, and I'd
say that would put him over the edge there.
It would have, yeah. So that's a little bit unfortunate, but I do think that moving forward, that he has some good potential, and at least he didn't just start off the season with a goose egg here. he at least put up
Yeah.
some points.
I do think though that he's wide receiver 3. I think Shahid's pretty solid.
Yeah, he did look good out there. And then for my sit, I had Jahmyr Gibbs sitting for the Lions.
Yeah, really good pick here.
Yes.
I was honestly surprised, but yeah, David Montgomery's definitely RB1 at this point.
Yeah, thank you. So Jahmyr got 7 points, so definitely not really worthy of a starting spot on a roster. And yeah, David Montgomery definitely looked like the lead back, at least at this early point in the season. I could see them integrating Gibbs into the offense a little bit more as the season moves on. But week
100%.
Week 1 was definitely a sit for Gibbs.
Yeah, no, I like that. I'm honestly a little bit surprised about that. I was going to make you a bet. Like, I bet that Jahmyr outscores Ramondre, but you would have won that one for sure.
Yeah.
I do still think Ramondre didn't have the best week in the world. Like, rushing, he was like 12 attempts for only 25 yards, but he did make it up with like 5 receptions for 62 yards. But I did kind of predict that. I was like, I just didn't think he was going to be so involved in the receiving game. I knew that they'd be playing from behind, which they were, and they'd have to throw the ball a bunch. But yeah, no, he was like the number 2 receiver. So, good for that, but still not his best game in the world.
Right. Yeah, so like in a PPR league or half PPR, I think that it was reasonable to start him.
Yep.
But in one of those just standard kind of leagues, it's not ridiculous to say
in a
that he
standard,
was
like a non-PPR league, he would have only had like 8.7 points, I think it was, 25 rush, 62 receiving. So,
which really isn't that great.
No, it's not great, especially for an RB1 like that.
Yeah,
and
I was kind of hating on you for that pick last week, but that it wasn't a bad pick.
He was like 1 or 2 receptions away from having like not a great game at all.
Yeah, agreed. So. Yeah, that was a fair pick.
But what really was a bad pick of starting Christian Kirk,
Yeah, Ridley just dominated Jacksonville's offense.
Almost like inexplicably so. Colts have a solid, they have a feasible defense, and yet it's almost as if they forgot who Calvin Ridley was. Like, Calvin Ridley is the better receiver, and yet they defended Kirk better than they did Ridley. Ridley should have been the one that was doubled on most plays. But, yeah, just kind of a weird game for Christian Kirk. I think he'll be okay going forward. They're going to need more receivers, but it's almost as if he's fallen to like the third wide receiver 3. You have, say, Jones, who I think he had a touchdown this game. So
yep. But let's hear about your other 2 starts, though. Both good picks, in my opinion.
Yeah, Cortland Sutton, he had an okay game. He did have a touchdown. Still not the best performance in the world, but I feel like, yeah, you definitely would have wanted to start him. And then, yeah, as far as tight ends go, it was a little bit of a rough week. Travis Kelce and Mark Andrews were out. George Kittle did nothing. Darren Waller didn't really do anything. So, yeah, you would have wanted to have started Cole Kmet. Another weird one. Dallas Goedert, 0 catches, 1 target. So, I actually have him. We'll get to him in a little bit here. I think he'll have a bounce back week. But, yeah, as far as tight ends go, it was a rough one.
Yes, definitely. All right, moving on to our last bit of accountability. We have our best bets segment from last week. Kind of already touched on mine, but Detroit moneyline hit for plus 245. So if you bet on that, that was a good one.
That's a good one for sure.
Yeah, and then my underdog parlay, Cleveland, Tennessee, Miami moneyline.
So close, man.
So close. 1 point away from that hitting if Tennessee had just gotten another field goal, a 6th field goal.
Just get into the end zone. How about that? Why are you selling for so many field goals?
That too. And then even the Rams, which if you had bet on that, tossed it into the parlay, that would have been like a plus 2,000 odds parlay, which would have hit if Tennessee had scored 2 more points.
Yeah, really, really disappointing performance out of Tennessee. But yeah, we're right there, guys. So eventually one of these is going to hit. In fact, this week. This is the week for us.
100%.
Rough week for me, though, in terms of my bets. Like I said, Houston didn't cover the spread. But, yeah, just kind of shouldn't have put that much stock in a rookie quarterback. Tennessee money line, obviously, we touched on this. They were close. They led at some points, but Tannehill just threw the game away. The Rams, though, that was a good pick for me. I'll pat myself on the back. They didn't need the 5.5 points at all. They won 30-13. So, yeah, just kind of a weird game that no one expected at all. And then, the Giants money line. Oh, my goodness. Can we not even talk about that game anymore? Let's move on.
Sounds good to me. Why don't you start off the week 2 picks then?
Yeah, so Minnesota at Philadelphia for Thursday Night Football. I think that Philadelphia will have a nice offensive resurgence after the little bit of a rougher game at New England. I mean, Jalen Hurts didn't play out of his mind. Like, it wasn't one of his better games for sure. But I think if Baker Mayfield can light up Minnesota's defense, surely the Eagles can. So I'm definitely taking Philadelphia here.
Yep, same with me. Same reason as you. I think that Minnesota just did not look great last week, and I'm relying on Philly to just play their usual game and beat Minnesota on Thursday.
Especially in their home opener, and Kirk Cousins always just bad in primetime games.
Definitely.
Then you have Baltimore at Cincinnati here. I know we're going to contend on this one. I love Joe Burrow still. I am a big believer in them. I think they'll have a bounce-back week. Home opener. Joe Burrow's got more time to practice, and he's probably a little bit,
pissed off.
Yeah, he's a little riled up after last week's game. And so, it's funny. Looking at all these stat lines, you start thinking early on about, like, MVP, and I know don't want to overreact to anything, but, like, after seeing Mahomes not do amazing, Joe Burrow not play great, I was like, okay, like, look at all Josh Allen needs to do is just have a nice game, and he's going to be the MVP front runner. But nope. So honestly, after this week, it's crazy to think that the MVP front runners are like Jordan Love and Tua. Trevor Lawrence is there as well. But yeah.
Yeah, so
Joe Burrow will bounce back though.
Yeah.
Bottom line.
That's fair. It's a fair assessment. I do, however, have Baltimore winning this one. I think our discrepancy here is a big part of it is because you don't like Lamar. You don't.
I like him, but he's always struggled against the Bengals. I think they've only beaten the Bengals like once in the last 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I just believe that Lamar is going to continue to struggle if they don't have they're not going to trade for JT this week. He won't be able to play either way. So I think they're going to struggle to run the ball. And Cincinnati I think this will still be a pretty low scoring game. Like, I could see this being like a 23-20 or something like that.
Yeah, that's fair. We'll see what happens.
I could see the Ravens win, though. It sounded like a wild pick.
Right, definitely.
Then you have Seattle at Detroit. This is a revenge game from last year's 48-45 when Seattle didn't punt at all against the Lions, and ultimately was the reason that Detroit missed the playoffs and Seattle got in. I think the discrepancy between the team has broadened. I think Seattle's gotten worse. Detroit's gotten better. I think Detroit should be able to light up Seattle's defense. They're favored by a little bit more than I would probably give them. I think it's like 6 right now. That sounds a little high to me. But yeah, definitely taking the Lions here. And I would hope to see Jared Goff, have a pretty good game.
Yeah, Detroit in their home opener after just taking down previous reigning Super Bowl champs.
Yeah, they're playing with some confidence right now.
Yeah, Detroit is feeling hot. So I definitely see them winning this game. Seattle just got a beat down from the Rams, who no one had any faith in. Yeah. So I definitely think that Detroit's going to be able to win this game.
Yeah, I think Seattle has regressed, especially defensively.
Yes, sir.
So then you have Indianapolis at Houston. Look at this game. This is another raccoon game for sure. But I think actually Indianapolis is a much better team than Houston after week 1. Both have rookie quarterbacks with a lot of youth on both sides of the ball. But Indianapolis looked much better against a much better opponent, I thought, as well. Mm-hmm. So I'm taking Indianapolis here, and I think they'll definitely cover their 1-point spread here.
Yeah, Anthony Richardson looked very dynamic in that game, and I'm also picking the Colts this week. I'm looking forward to, seeing him hopefully put a beat down on the Texans this week. Yeah,
I think it's going to be the start of the remorse that Houston feels over the next 4 or 5 years for taking C.J. Stroud over Anthony Richardson.
Yeah.
Then you have Chicago at Tampa Bay. I feel like these two teams have played so much over the last few years, dating all the way back to 2020 when Nick Foles actually beat Tampa, and that was the year they went on to win the Super Bowl. And then I think Tom Brady threw his 600th touchdown on the Bears 2 years ago or something like that. But yeah, either way, Tampa Bay is going to win this game. Their home opener now, Chicago did not look great at all. Although this is one of those games where I could see Chicago rebounding and playing okay, and Tampa Bay, I would probably say Chicago has a better defense than Minnesota. Although, who who even knows? I mean, they left 38 points to Green Bay, so I don't know. Tampa Bay should win this game.
Yep, same as you. I've got Tampa Bay this week. I just have no faith in the Bears at all after last week. So I'm taking Tampa Bay, despite my hatred for Baker Mayfield. Don't believe in him. He did play decent last week. Yeah, so I'm taking Tampa Bay.
Yeah, I could see Chicago win this game though, but yeah, we'll see. Then you got Kansas City at Jacksonville. Again, I feel like I'm betting a little bit too much with my heart here. Although Travis Kelce is still questionable, I am going to take the Jaguars, a little revenge game from the playoffs last year. I think overall at this point, especially playing at home, Jacksonville has the edge. And should be a really good game, though. It might end up being the game of the week. Trevor Lawrence has to clean it up a little bit from week 1, though, if he wants to beat the Chiefs and similar teams going forward.
Yeah, this should certainly be a thrilling one. I mean, reigning Super Bowl champs.
Should be pretty high scoring because Jacksonville's defense did not look great. And Kansas City's defense, I mean, it's okay. But
yeah, I have not checked the over-under lines yet, but I bet you this one is probably up there for one of the best.
Yeah, probably right up there with Seattle and Detroit. I think those are going to be the highest scoring of the week.
Yeah, so pretty interesting that we're both taking Jacksonville against Kansas City this week. But
yeah, I think in terms of upsets go, I think Jackson's getting like 3.5 or Jacksonville's getting 3.5. I would definitely be taking that, and I'm just going to take them to win straight up.
Yeah, I like that pick.
Then we got Green Bay at Atlanta. I think that Green Bay, only favored by 1.5 points as it stands right now, is definitely a little bit of a discrepancy in the betting world that you want to hit. This is something I waged a lot of parlays. Like I struck together a lot of parlays using this one as a little bit of a lock. I really do feel strongly about Green Bay here. I like Atlanta's defense, but the conservative way they played last week is going to land them right where the Bears were, just getting almost blown out of the water by a much younger and more aggressive and more well-capped, better coached Green Bay team.
Yeah, I also am picking Green Bay this week. I think that Jordan Love played very nicely, very well. I'm hoping that Aaron Jones does not alter this for me by him not playing.
Yeah, I don't think it's anything too serious, but they do have A.J. Dillon still, who's a very capable back.
Yes, definitely. So I'm taking Green Bay this week should be an easy win. One of the best lines, I think, to bet for this week.
Yeah, I do think Jordan Love might throw a pick, though, in this game because Atlanta's back end is pretty solid. But
yeah, certainly possible.
Yeah, should still win. Then you got Vegas at Buffalo. Buffalo is getting way too many points in this game. I am taking the Vegas spread, but I'm still going to take Buffalo to win. Their home opener, they need to rebound. They just got embarrassed by Zach Wilson. Who knew that a game between Josh Allen and Aaron Rodgers, the best quarterback on the field, would have ended up being Zach Wilson. They're going to try and right those wrongs. Definitely going to take Buffalo, but I think it still should be a rather interesting game with Jimmy Garoppolo trying to maybe make some magic happen, continue it with Vegas there.
Yeah, samesies. I'm taking Buffalo this week. I do think that this would be a good one, though, because, Josh is just going to be hungry for some revenge after last week against the Jets.
Yeah, I mean, Buffalo looked like a bottom 10 team, so they really need this win here. They cannot afford to go 0-2 in that division.
Absolutely not.
All right, then we have the Chargers at Tennessee. This game feels like a really just low-scoring one to me. I think Tennessee will hold the Chargers' defense below 25 points or so. I very am tempted to take Tennessee here. Like similar to Buffalo, I think Tannehill will rebound. I don't think the Chargers defense is anything too special. I am still going to take Chargers to win. They should absolutely win. They have no excuse not to. If they lose this game, Brandon Staley, the odds for him to be fired before the middle point of the season, would very much so go up. Like, Brandon Staley cannot afford to lose this game here at the inferior opponent of Tennessee. But, yeah, this is one of those games where I could definitely see Tennessee winning.
Yeah, that's fair. But I do think that the Chargers have have a much better chance of winning this
Oh,
one.
I mean, on paper they should.
Yeah, after watching their offense last week, Keenan Allen went off.
Yep.
Justin Herbert to Keenan Allen, that connection was just fantastic. I'm taking them for the win over Tennessee this week.
Yeah, I think that's a smart pick for sure, but I don't know. I feel like Brandon Staley can find a way to lose any game. And we got the Giants at Arizona. I think that the Giants are going to rebound against a much inferior opponent. Like, I think if Dallas played Arizona, it would have been like 60-0. I think Arizona is that much below everyone else in the league, and Washington made them look better than they truly are. I think the Giants should be able to roll on into Arizona and take care of business and kind of start to wash out the pain of last week, you know?
That's an interesting pick. This is one of the three that we're disagreeing on this week. After watching that Sunday night game,
I know.
they got steamrolled by the Cowboys.
It's hard to take the Giants. Like, you know, looking at fantasy defenses, the stream, it's hard to look at the Giants as a feasible one, but I do think it is.
All right, I guess that's fine.
Like, I don't think you should pick Arizona to win any game this year. Like, they'll probably win one or two, but
I mean, I think this could be that one or two. This could be the one. I mean, the Giants just looked so bad, and I hated a lot on Arizona last week. I said that they are undoubtedly one of the worst teams in the league, but with their home opener here, I think that Arizona has a better chance than the Giants do of winning this game.
Yeah, we'll see about that. I feel pretty strongly in this one, though. Okay. I really do.
Did you feel pretty strongly last week when you picked the Giants over the Cowboys?
I did not. No, I really did not. But I thought, like, I feel like this is like a 90%er, whereas last week it was like a 60%er.
All right.
Then we got the Jets at Dallas. This is in trouble. This is a potential to be another 40-0 game to me. I think that Dallas is going to utterly harass the Jets, especially Zach Wilson. I think what they did to Daniel Jones and the Giants, probably a better offensive line, is going to just carry right on over to this game. Zach Wilson is going to struggle, whereas, you know, they're going to be prepared for Zach Wilson. The Bills were absolutely not prepared for seeing Zach Wilson on the field and kind of his additional mobility over Aaron Rodgers, and that's probably, you know, a little bit a factor to why they had success against the Bills. But now, you know, knowing what's coming, Dallas should be able to wallop them and get off to a really good start this year.
Yeah, man, I like that pick a lot. Zach Wilson cannot lead this offense.
No, I mean, he got very lucky.
Yeah, I could definitely see Dallas taking this to 40-0, like you said.
Yeah. You know, it's funny. This is a little bit of a revenge game. The Jets actually beat Dallas several years ago. I think in the 2020 season, it was one of those inexplicable games that Dallas lost. They started the year off like 3-0, and then they lost a bunch of games later on in the season. And that was the point where like Sam Darnold was starting. So I feel like some of those players still have that bad taste in their mouth. Then we have San Francisco at the Rams. Now, I think San Francisco might be getting a little bit too much credit here. 8.5 points or so, something like that, in LA.
I think this is definitely going to be a closer game than that. After last week, watching the Rams play. I
think the Rams are capable, although they've always tended to struggle against San Fran. So I am going to take San Francisco. They are definitely the better team. But, man, if Cooper Kupp was playing, though,
that'd be a tough one.
Yeah, that would be a tough one. That would be a good game, I think.
Yeah, I'm also taking San Fran, just like you said.
All right, then we have kind of more of a borderline raccoon game. Washington at Denver here. If Denver loses this game, they become the laughingstock of the league. Like, you're expecting Arizona to be bad. You're expecting some of these other teams to struggle. You're not expecting Sean Payton and Russell Wilson, two Hall of Fame bound people, to continue to struggle this way like they did last year. They need to win this game. Washington struggled against Arizona. They should struggle against a solid Denver defense on the road. And yeah, there are no excuses at this point. Denver has to win this game. No more bonehead onside kick decisions like that.
Yeah, I would be shocked if Denver did not come out hungry here and pull off a victory against one of the worst teams in the NFL, against Washington. I'm definitely taking Denver this week.
Yeah, I kind of like them with the points as well. Then we have Miami at New England, and I almost was going to take New England here. I feel like coming off of that like road win in LA, like traveling all the way out to LA, and then now traveling all the way up to New England, like that's a lot of mileage. That's a little bit of wear and tear on the Dolphins, especially after that emotional win they had. But I do think they're one of the best teams in the league this year. I think they're a top 5 team, so it's gonna be hard to pick them or pick against them here, but I probably will take New England with the points they're getting, like 2 or 2.5, 3, whatever it is. I will take Miami here, though.
Okay. Yeah, I like that pick. New England kept it close with Philly last week, but with the high-powered offense in Miami, I think that Miami is going to pull away with this one.
Yeah, there's like 3 games this week that I could see going the other way, and those are like Tennessee and New England and the Bears. I think all 3 of those have potential. Like one of them is bound to go opposite of what we think.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have New Orleans at Carolina. New Orleans should, get off to a nice, pretty start this year, going up against a struggling offense. Bryce Young's not working with much up there or down there, over there, whatever you want to call it, in Carolina. Even though they're at home, pretty sure that they're going to get suffocated by New Orleans defense, and Derek Carr should have a nice day.
Yep, I got the same thoughts as you again. This seems like an easy win for New Orleans here against a team that struggles offensively. Rookie QB, I just don't think they stand a very good chance.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if this one went the other way, even though it does scare me a little bit that Carolina is playing at home. I just think that, New Orleans has the much better team all around, defense, receivers, quarterback, etc.
Yep.
Then you got Sunday Night Football, Cleveland at Pittsburgh.
Monday Night Football.
So Sunday Night Football is, wait. Aren't there are 2 Monday Night Football games?
It's the New Orleans game and the Cleveland game.
So you're saying Monday. Sunday Night Football is Miami at New England?
I believe so.
Who's picking these primetime games? My God. I feel like Kansas City at Jacksonville should definitely be a primetime game this week, but they stuffed that like at noon. Ugh.
Yeah, the Dolphins game is the primetime game Sunday night.
Who's picking these primetime games, dude?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't like, honestly, any of these. New Orleans at Carolina, Monday Night Football.
Yeah.
I mean, I can understand Cleveland at Pittsburgh, but Kansas City at Jacksonville absolutely should have been one of these. I mean, maybe there's something we don't know because that's just like an obvious pick for this, but I don't know.
Yeah, and I would love to see the San Fran against the Rams game in primetime.
I think Vegas at Buffalo is more interesting.
Yeah.
A lot more interesting games here than these ones.
Certainly not New Orleans and Carolina.
No, yeah, that's weird to me. But Cleveland at Pittsburgh. Cleveland should win this game, although this is one of the ones where I think this is the most likely upset of the whole week. I would not be surprised at all if Pittsburgh won, coming off of a rough start in San Francisco. Or actually, they were at home, so now they're at home again. I think Mike Tomlin's going to whip the boys into shape. They'll play better this week, but Cleveland should be able to take care of business here. Deshaun Watson still needs to play a little bit better, though.
Yep, I'm also taking Cleveland. I am not high on Pittsburgh after what I saw last week. Najee looked terrible in the backfield, and I think that Pickett is just a little bit overhyped. So I'm taking Cleveland.
Unfortunately, I think you might be right. I really had high hopes for Pickett this year, but yeah, he did not look great. So Cleveland it is.
Yeah, so I actually misspoke earlier. We actually only have 2 games different here. So just to recap, we have all the games the same except for Baltimore at Cincy. And I'm taking Baltimore. Rhett is taking Cincinnati. And then the Giants against Arizona, where I'm taking Arizona and you're taking the Giants.
Yeah, so I should be able to get 2 games up on you in this.
Yeah, we'll see about that.
I still am not able to tie us because that's the problem. If we only have 2 different, I'm not going to be able to make much ground up. But yeah, I did switch from New England to Miami. I just feel like it'd be kind of stupid to take New England. Although I really think like one of those 4 games is going to go the other way. I just don't have the balls to choose.
Yeah, that's fair. All right, let's move into the starts and sits for this week. So, Rhett, who do you got?
So I think Dallas Goedert will bounce back against a poor Minnesota defense. There really should not be. I mean, I know he had nothing, but he is like a top 5 tight end, I think, in the league. So you got to start him. You got to give him a chance here. And yeah,
I agree with that.
It was
pick.
the bad weather, I think, that ultimately was the issue against New England.
Yeah, you should not be panicking on Dallas Goedert. He had one game. Yeah, he only had one target for 0 yards. He didn't catch it, but
He turned into a blocker. He
Yeah.
was a blocking tight end.
but you cannot be panicking on Goddard. He's got a guy with a lot of talent on a
Yep.
fantastic offense under Jalen Hurts. This guy is going to get some action, and I like that start a lot this week.
Yeah, 100%. Start anyone you possibly have on the Eagles offense. Although DeAndre Swift, I guess, is not the starting running back. I guess
Kenneth
that's Kenneth
Gainwell.
Gainwell. I think that's a little bit strange. DeAndre Swift is a solid back, man. Come on now. Give him some respect. But, yeah, that's who I got starting. Then I'm going to roll with Green Bay's defense. Like, if he's on any available waivers, you got to pick him up. I mean, or you got to pick them up. I think they're going to play very well against Atlanta. Desmond Ridder should turn the ball over. He's definitely due for a turnover. He plays very conservative, but they're going to be playing from out behind. He's going to have to force the ball down the field a little bit more. So definitely Green Bay's defense. And then sit-wise, Alexander Madison, the starting running back for the Vikings, they're going to be playing from behind. And unless he gets super involved into the receiving game, which is possible, he did have a receiving touchdown this past week, I think he will rush for around 40 to 60 yards. But beyond that, I think it'll be a little bit of a slow game for him. Like we talked about, New England struggled to run the ball against the Eagles. So I think the similar kind of course will occur here in this game.
Mm-hmm.
And then Drake London was another zero. There's a lot of weird zero, like just goose egg players this week. T. Higgins, Drake London, Dallas Goedert. And yeah, I mean, I think he'll be okay, like in the long term. But like I said, if you're starting Green Bay's defense, the Falcons on the back end of that are going to struggle. And so I'm going to sit Drake London, who, yeah, I mean, he has not really done a whole lot in the league this year. And I think, yeah, this is definitely not the time where he's going to turn that around.
I like that pick a lot. I'm not trusting any Atlanta
receiver.
I mean,
you almost got to start Kyle Pitts just because, like, it's Kyle Pitts. And
right.
he's, oh, my God, like, he's supposed to be just elite. But
when's that time going to come when
it's
you
been
just
a long time
overlook his incredible stats lines from college and his build and just see that it's not turning into any production in the NFL?
He's on the wrong team right now. I mean, I think both of these guys, if they could trade somewhere else, they could be pretty good.
Yeah, he could definitely thrive in a different offense, but I just do not see the run-heavy offense of Atlanta being a place for these guys to prosper.
Yeah, man, I'd love to see him reunite with Kyle Trask because they both play in Florida, and I don't know, maybe that was just the peak for both of them. Maybe that was it.
Yeah, maybe.
And then this is my boldest one of the week. I'm sitting Garrett Wilson.
Very bold.
Yeah, I think he's going to struggle. I mean, if he didn't have that touchdown against the Bills, I mean, he would have had a bad game.
Yeah.
I mean, he only had 34 yards on the entire day. I mean, you got Zach Wilson throwing you the ball. I think that the Dallas defense, although they're going to be playing, I mean, I think the Jets are going to be playing from behind. They're going to have to throw the ball, blah, 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 blah. But I think the Dallas Cowboys should shut down every aspect of the Jets offense, and that does include Garrett Wilson. Like, if he was not able to put up a whole lot of good numbers against the Bills, going up against a defense that's like 3 times as good, in my opinion,
right?
I'm sitting him for sure.
Yeah, that's actually not a bad pick. It's crazy to say that we're going to sit Garrett Wilson, and after just week 1, people were saying, in the offseason that he's going to have a year like Devontae did with Aaron Rodgers a few years back.
I would have thought so. Like, if Aaron Rodgers was playing in this game, I would have started him. But it's Zach Wilson.
I know,
man.
They just do not have the same connection that, is going to allow them to really thrive. But, yeah, so I can get behind that pick. Let me talk about my starts and the sits for this week. So we talked a little bit about him already, but Kendrick Bourne looked very nice this past week.
Yeah, I like that for sure.
Yeah, so I am starting Kendrick Bourne. And then this one might be a bit of a surprise, but Zach Ertz, tight end on the Cardinals here.
Yeah, that's an interesting one, but he did put up some good numbers.
So he didn't exactly produce yardage-wise. I think he only had like 21 yards or something like that.
But what, he had like 8 receptions or something? Or was
he had
it
6 receptions
six.
on 10 targets. And
Josh Dobbs, like...
Yeah. 10 targets. If you're getting 10 targets, eventually that is going to translate into fantasy points. So I like the value you're getting with Zach Ertz this week. So yeah, we're starting Zach Ertz. And then what were you going to say?
No, I like that for sure. He was on the bench on one of my teams, and he outscored several of the guys I started, so he would be a good flex option. Although they do have Trey McBride, another tight end there, who I think is like feasible and all that. But, I mean, Zach Ertz, who was, like a tight end too, I mean, behind Travis Kelce back in the day, and somehow just kind of, went to Arizona to rot. I mean, he's still got talent, so I like that.
Yeah, thank you. And then closing it off, I've got my sit for this week in DJ Moore. Did not like what I saw last week in the Bears game. Fields did not demonstrate any sort of connection with him. And with the way that they talked about it in the offseason, I thought that they were going to be the dynamic duo out there for the Bears offense. And that certainly was not the case. 2 targets, 2 catches for 25 yards. That is not enough for me to want to continue to start DJ Moore, especially when the Bears were playing from behind for like the whole game, in a game where the Bears are supposed to be passing, and they just aren't. They were not throwing the ball to DJ, so I'm sitting him this week.
Yeah, that's fair until we see how he develops with Fields, but I'll bet you that he outscores Garrett Wilson this week.
That's a little saucy take. I don't know about that. I think I would actually rather have Garrett Wilson than DJ Moore in my lineup.
Yeah, well, we'll see.
Okay.
I just feel like Tampa Bay defense, Dallas defense.
Yeah, that's fair. Maybe we'll toss a little coin on it outside of the pod.
Plus, you look how DJ has played against Tampa. I mean, he used to play Tampa twice a year in Carolina. So
yeah, that is true. We'll see what happens.
I like that one. I mean, it's fair. Like, I definitely think you only put up 2 receptions for 25 yards, and it's I'm gonna wait to see how he develops. But I think ultimately he'll be okay there in Chicago.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk about our best bets for this week now. So my best bet. So despite I'm taking Philly in the Thursday night game, but I cannot get over these little upsetting
I know.
promos.
I know you like those.
Dude, they get me just a little turned
a little
up.
Tingly?
Yeah, a little bit tingly. They tickle the nether regions a little bit.
The old scrotum.
Yeah. But I'm taking Minnesota money line with the up 7 promo for plus 265 odds. It's better odds than they gave with the Lions game last week. And again, I want to emphasize that I do not think that Minnesota is going to win this game. But if you are on DraftKings and you can get this up 7 promo, this is great value if Minnesota just marches down the field and scores on the opening drive before the Eagles even get the ball. And that bet can cash for you.
I definitely like that for sure. I would 100% support that decision.
Yeah, all right, thank you. And then the next one is one that we both have, actually, Green Bay money line.
Yeah, we're nailing this one.
Yeah, dude, there's no way that Atlanta pulls off the victory this week.
This is the anchor in all your parlays this week.
It is, 100%, the anchor, the absolute weight. Yeah, Green Bay money line at minus 124. It's a little bit of negative value, which isn't always the best, but I am so confident in this play that I think that it should be added to just about every parlay. And it's not like they're minus 200, minus 300.
No, yeah.
It's minus 124, which is hardly negative, and I just have a lot of confidence in that play.
Yeah, I love that one, 100%.
Yeah. All right, next we've got Tampa Bay money line at minus 154. So they have worse odds of winning this week than Green Bay does, which is kind of surprised. Or sorry, they're better odds. It's more likely that they're going to win, which is just surprising to me because I would not really think that against the Bears. I would think that Green Bay would be expected to.
I agree.
Smoke Atlanta, whereas not necessarily the case for Chicago and Tampa Bay, but still taking Tampa as a lock this week. And then this one we got a little discrepancy on. I'm including Arizona money line because of the Giants situation. Okay. Yeah, this is really going to be the major turning point in our pod for next week.
Yeah, I mean, I feel really confident the Giants win this game.
Okay, well, maybe we don't include Arizona in the parlays. But if you do want to anyways, if we cook up a little Green Bay, Tampa Bay, Arizona parlay.
You're betting on Joshua Dobbs.
You're betting on Daniel Jones, bro.
Yeah,
He
Daniel
just put
Jones
up a
is
goose
fine.
egg.
All right, yeah, he had a bad game. But a lot of quarterbacks had bad games this week. I mean, he had almost double the amount of yards Joe Burrow had.
Yeah, but
And he only turned the ball over half the amount of times that Josh Allen did.
Okay. I mean, when you put it that way, you're making him look like a star. But are you telling me that you would rather have Daniel Jones? Like,
two quarterbacks, I think. Okay, there might have been more, but two quarterbacks had pick sixes this week. The other one was Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
I think Daniel Jones will be okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see about that. Yeah. So if you are feeling like taking a giga risk with this Arizona.
This is a giga risk.
Yeah, a giga risk. But plus 776 odds if you want to parlay that with the Green Bay and Tampa plays. If you are not feeling giga risky, just Green Bay and Tampa is plus 200 odds. I like the value there, and two teams I feel quite confident will win this week.
Yeah, I like Green Bay and Tampa for sure. I got a little bit more wild. I do like Green Bay's money line, of course. I'm parlaying that with Philadelphia's money line, the Giants' money line, and Denver's money line for a plus 454 odds total there. I like that a lot. I think Denver should definitely win. Again, like we already talked about the Giants, already talked about the other ones as well. So I think these are four locks of the week, like the four most confident games. And some of them happen to have some of the best lines, of the week. I feel like if you toss Tampa Bay in there as well. But as I've been mentioning, I think DJ Moore will have a good game. I think Chicago still could win. I think some of the hype in them is not unfounded. I think they just kind of go off at the wrong foot. But yeah, that's my big parlay for the week. I also would like to take Tennessee and the 3 points. I'd like to take New England and the 2.5 points, which I feel like may grow to 3. I think Vegas plus 9. If you got it at 10, I like that even more. But of course, after the Bills' rough performance, that's probably going to narrow. But still giving 9 points to a team that won, that just doesn't feel quite right to me. I think there's a lot of good value there. I think Denver and 3.5 points is good. That's a good spread to me. I think Washington, who struggled against the Cardinals, is really in over their heads against Denver, a much better team, or at least really should be. And then the Giants, 5.5. Again, I really feel strongly about this game. I think the Giants will win 30 to 16, maybe a little less than that, maybe like 24 to 13 to 16, maybe not even that much. I like 24 to 10. How about that? 24 to 10 Giants. That's what I'm picking. And then I have a giga parlay for you guys that involves a little college football. Philadelphia's money line still. Green Bay's money line. But then I like Notre Dame covering the 34.5 point spread against Central Michigan. Central Michigan struggled in their first couple games. They barely beat New Hampshire. So I think Notre Dame should be able to win. I think they'll hold them under 13 to 14 points, and they'll put up like 50 again. South Carolina keeping their game against Georgia within 27.5. I like that a lot, especially because Georgia's played nobody so far, and South Carolina with Spencer Rattler is actually like not a bad team at all. And now I'm going to sound like a goof here, but I kind of forgot who North Carolina is playing this week, but I guess I liked whoever they were playing and that 7.5 spread. Let's see. Let's do a quick little Google ski here. North Carolina, week 3, college football. Who did they play? Oh, Minnesota. Oh, yeah. I love this. 7.5 points is way too few against Minnesota. That is overrated. They always typically are. I think North Carolina, Drake May is touted as like the second pick in the draft this year, so he's going to want to live up to that, and he needs to beat Minnesota by over 7.5. So that's a nice little parlay there for you guys that I really feel good about. And yeah, that is all we have for you guys. Thank you, as always, for tuning in. We'll be back next week for the same old deal. I like that we were able to keep this around the same time, an hour and 13 minutes, which hopefully we can get these down to a little bit more of a palatable length. But there's just so much to talk about, man. So much good stuff to talk about, especially only doing one episode a week,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. So just to give a quick recap on that best bets, dude, if you're looking for a single bet to take, You need to hammer Green Bay money
Yep,
line.
yeah, you got to do it right now before
Absolutely
that grows.
hammer
'Cause
it.
I could feel like the discrepancy there
Yes.
will pull away.
Definitely. But yeah, like you said, thank you guys so very much for listening. I think it was a great episode, and I'm excited to hear about what we talk about next week.
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to turn on that raccoon game, Giants and the Cardinals, because I really need the Giants to come through. I'm hanging my hat on them big time this week. Again, for no reason, I guess.
Okay, big guy.
We'll see. They need to bounce back.
Yeah.
Law of averages, remember? Law of averages.
Yeah. Notre Dame knowledge.
Yes, sir. All right, thank you guys. We will see you next week.